ESPN's Adam Schefter reports that the Arizona Cardinals and Los Angeles Chargers both are potential to trade down in the draft, which could open up for a surprising scenario for the Chicago Bears. We're going to take a look at that. We're also take a look at Cole Kmet's comments on Gerald Evers and why it's going to be vastly important for the next Chicago Bears quarterback, and 1 year of Kevin Warren on the job. We're going to take a look at all that plus the mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. And so, an important thing, we and the guys, we had a live stream last night, and we talked about the rumors that Marvin Harrison Jr. wants to be a Chicago Bear and kind of some of the talk around that, right? Please go to that episode if you kind of want our in-depth thoughts on that. We had a lot of fun with that live stream. But ESPN's Adam Schefter came out and said that the Arizona Cardinals and Los Angeles Chargers are teams in the top 10 who very well could be and are looking maybe to trade down in this draft and could be a potential trade partner for teams looking to trade up and get a quarterback. And so, some of that makes sense, right? When you look at the Cardinals, if a team, considering that they seem invested in Kyler Murray there and Justin Herbert with the Chargers as well, that if teams are looking up to try to make sure that they get their quarterback off the board before other teams, that they could definitely trade down in those scenarios. So that would make sense that they're open at least to listen to those discussions, much like with Ryan Poles. He's going to listen to a lot of opportunities. It doesn't mean he's going to take them all, right? It doesn't mean that a trade is imminent or anything like that in any of those cases. It just means that they are listening and open to deals. And then when it comes further, Jeremy Fowler on SportsCenter said this is a pivot point in the draft at the number 4 overall. I've talked to several teams picking in the top 10 who think that Arizona is going to be active at that spot. You see Marvin Harrison Jr. there, probably the best overall player in this draft, maybe, so they could have him available if the quarterbacks go ahead of them and maybe make that pick. They also really need a pass rusher. Top 4 is rich for pass rushers, so they could move back and acquire some more capital to get one of those guys in the team. So the thought process behind that, right? And this isn't even just on the Marvin Harrison Jr. side of it, right? Yes, that's speculation. If Ryan Poles found a way to come out of this draft with Caleb and Marvin Harrison, who you guys know I've been talking about since the middle of the season, to me, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in this draft. But outside of the chance of that, if they are teams that are trading up to potentially get their quarterback early on, right, and not want to wait for a chance in the teens, for a quarterback to go to a different team, that how that affects the Chicago Bears then is that it opens up even more potential for the Bears to draft some of the other players at number 9, which may mean that they stick to number 9, right? And so you got to look at it this way, right? The Cardinals and the Chargers, they're at 4 and 5. If either one of those teams, or both of them trade down with the team that's looking to go ahead and get their quarterback at J.J. McCarthy earlier in that draft, right? To do something like that, then at that point, it pushes another player down further to the Chicago Bears to potentially end up picking. Now, we know that where the Bears sit, right? Joe Alt, definitely somebody that the Bears should look to draft if he falls to them at number 9. Great, amazing talent. I don't know if he gets there past the Tennessee Titans, for example, at number 7. But hey, Dallas Turner's another one there. Edge. We need an edge in this draft. And then, of course, all the wide receivers that we've already named in this draft. The fact of the matter is that we know are expected the first 3 picks in this draft are all going to be quarterbacks. If a team trades up, either in that 4 or 5 position to draft J.J. McCarthy early, and then however the Giants then do pivot after that, do they go ahead and take a quarterback, reach on one? Do they also trade down to get another quarterback? It could really be a draft where the draft gets interesting at number 4. Right now, it could very well go the most likely scenario with the Cardinals still taking Marvin Harrison Jr., adding that to Kyler Murray. It really comes down to how the Cardinals rank. Do they need an edge? Do they want a wide receiver more than they want an edge, right? And it happens with their same thing with the Chargers. Yeah, they need a wide receiver, but are they comfortable with maybe falling back some, getting a Romo Dunze later in that draft, right? Something like that. So it just depends. There's a lot of it maneuvering ahead of the draft. We all know that, but I do think that it's interesting that we could come out of this scenario, and that also, doesn't take into account that maybe a team does have Malik Neighbors above Marvin Harrison Jr. and that he goes. And then if the Cardinals trade down, then Marvin Harrison falls even further. So while, I still don't think and I do not believe that the Bears are going to walk away from this draft with Marvin Harrison Jr. and with Caleb Williams. I just don't think that happens. Maybe that's PTSD. Maybe that's myself saving myself from expectations. But there is realistic scenarios which that could happen. Now, realistic doesn't mean probable, right? Something could be realistic but not probable when you look at things like that. But regardless of the Marvin Harrison Jr. part of it, like I said earlier, as long as that pushes some of those players that fit what the Bears need down there, we've already been talking about the Bears in a prime position at number 9 to get a really amazing player at what they need, a position of need for that team. There are players that are going to fall in that area to that, but it can get even more creative for the Chicago Bears. And that's if the Bears aren't looking to trade down themselves, right, from number 9. So there's a lot of different scenarios and permutations that still could happen in the 2024 draft, and that the Bears, with Ryan Poles, we've seen it. They are going to review and always put themselves in the best situation that they see fit for that team. So, we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. I like a lot of what I'm hearing as far as, for the Bears, how they're doing their due diligence, things like that. But they are really looking to knock out this draft. And with those 2 first-round picks, they're looking to get that. Well, they are in a prime position to get some amazing talent to add to the influx of this team and to add to what this team is trying to do and accomplish just in this season in 2024. So let me know what you guys think about that. Hearing that the Cardinals and the Chargers are listening to deals to potentially trade down, that multiple people at ESPN do think that they are the 2 most likely teams to trade down for a team looking to get a quarterback earlier on in that draft to make sure they get their guy. Let me know what you guys think on all that down below, man. But let's go ahead and get into the next topic for today. And this is one Cole Kmet talked about Gerald Evers, right? Saying this. He's a relentless player in that regard. He's tough to bring down, and that brings a lot of juice to an offense when guys do that. And so, to say that, to even say that the physical play of that, and we've talked about why the 2 tight end set it's hugely important for Shane Waldron's system, right? In a lot of ways, Shane Waldron at times uses the 2 tight end sets and uses one of those tight ends as a pseudo slot receiver, right? Not the same way as you would use a traditional slot, but because of the way he likes to spread the ball out, that opens that opportunity up. And Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett joining together and getting their chemistry together, even though, and understanding the system, right? He talked about how well that Gerald Everett knows the system, saying Everett is really familiar with the offense and with Shane going back to LA. He's good pass catching tight end and very athletic, good at yards per catch. We're looking forward to getting to work with him and play with him. That should be a good 1-2 punch at tight end. So that the fact that they understand that, and when you have a rookie quarterback, having 2 tight ends that are both good in pass catching, and Gerald Everett who's really good at getting some yards after the catch as well, that could be a really nice safety blanket for your new quarterback who's coming in as a rookie and learning an offensive scheme, playing under center more than what he did in college, things like that. And I would not be surprised if early in the season, while Caleb Williams or whoever, because we know that he's not drafted officially yet, whoever that quarterback is, it's going to be Caleb Williams. It's going to be Caleb. But with that said, don't be surprised if their tight ends become some of their favorite targets earlier on in checkdowns and even outside of checkdowns and things like that. So we're going to see a lot of tight end usage, and I think we're going to see the tight end become probably both tight ends become one of the favorite weapons of a Caleb Williams early on in that NFL season. Now, that's not to say that we're still not going to give many targets to Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. They're going to be more than enough passes to be spread around for everybody, but I would not be surprised if kind of early in that season, those tight ends become a really big safety net for Caleb Williams. And, having those 2 versatile tight ends is something that's going to make the running game easier. It's going to make it easier for the wide receivers out on the tight end, out on the outside as well. When you have wide receivers that are as versatile as what Cole Kmet and what Gerald Everett shape up to be in a Shane Waldron offense that's already going to be creative, right? And you got a running back in Swift that's also going to catch passes out the backfield. I almost said catch balls out the backfield, but you guys would have had fun with that. I kind of said it anyway, so you guys are still going to have fun with it. But, with that said, so it's going to be important, and I think that's something that just continues to watch, monitor, and see early on how this chemistry builds between the quarterback and these 2 tight ends. But I'm really excited for it. Glad that so far in the offseason program, It's clear and cut that he understands the offense, and that's part of the reason he's here as well. Understanding that offense, helping the learning curve of the other players. That's part of what they did in bringing this team together, as well as that bringing in people who already understand this type of offense that Shane Waldron runs, because it's going to help the learning curve of the other players that were already here under a Luke Getsy system. So the Bears did another thing right in that Gerald Evers thing, and it's good to hear that so far. And the only thing that we have to hang on so far, that he's looking really good in that time, which we did expect for sure. Now, before we get into the one voicemail that we have to have, today is my son's 18th birthday, so if everybody can put in a happy birthday, Xavier, in the comment section of the YouTube channel, if you're watching on YouTube, it would mean the absolute world to me. Shout out to my son, Xavier, my oldest child, who already has committed and decided on a college as well. He's going to Missouri Southern State University. It sucks that their colors are Packers colors, but I'm glad for my son in the next step of the journey that he's making. But outside of that, on top of my son's birthday, it's also marks the 1 year of Kevin Warren taking over the role with the Chicago Bears. And, at the NFL meetings, George McCaskey said this in regards to the difference between Kevin Warren and the difference between Ted Phillips, who was in that position previously, saying this: energetic, dynamic, passionate, enthusiastic. Not that Ted wasn't all of those things, but Kevin Warren just does it in a different way. He's a force of nature. And we have seen a little bit of that. I think that Kevin Warren and his job so far has been so focused on the stadium, which, the fact that the Bears are building a new dome stadium, which, that they're investing $2 billion in, with the city investing another few billion in that as well, that we're going to see a state-of-the-art stadium finally for the Chicago Bears, who have the oldest stadium in the NFL right now, that started off as one of the largest when it was initially built, and is now the smallest stadium in the NFL per capacity. But that's been kind of the focus of Kevin Warren. But when you hear him talk about this team, even in the interview that he talked glowingly about Justin Fields, the way that he talks about Ryan Poles, the way that he talks about the city of Chicago, right? Saying that how he lives downtown, and that kind of reinvigorating on top of the situation out in Arlington Park as well, as far as the taxes there, but reinvigorated the fact of wanting to keep the stadium downtown, right? So, it's Kevin Warren hasn't got a whole chance to put his imprint on it a whole hell of a lot, because we're still in a rebuild, but it is a different feel, right? The way that he communicates things is kind of a lot more open than what I personally feel that Ted Phillips did. And hopefully that continues with this team, because Kevin Warren is a straight shooter. And that's something that I appreciate as a lifelong Bears fan, and a Bears fan that has seen regimes come in here and not necessarily be as transparent. To have Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles, for that matter, be very transparent in what they say, what they do. That does not mean that Ryan Poles doesn't keep things sleight of hand, because we already know that. But as far as the mindset, right? And even with Ryan Poles and how he explains things after the fact, very articulate. I love this new regime, and I love the balance between Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren as well. And I think that's just, it points to just a great person to lead this team. And it's been 1 year of that so far. And listen, there's still a whole hell of a lot that goes down, right? Arlington Heights, for right now, the team still owns that, but apparently they're filing an appeal as well for the tax situation. So we'll see what happens with that one. But they will, this year, per what Kevin Warren said, is that this year they will agree on a stadium plan. And so that's what it comes down to. They're trying to fix that in this time. Kevin Warren saying you could always figure out if it's not the right time. Just one of those individuals that comes to the table and say we have a unique opportunity to build a world-class fixed-roof stadium, to bid for the Super Bowl, to bid for the Final Four, to bid for college events, to build for concert events, and then to go other mega events to come into town, and economic impact that this will have on the city. And that is something that's always going to ingratiate Kevin Warren with the city of Chicago, is thinking and talking about the city in the manner that he does. And he talks about the city as someone who really does love it. And that's the thing that we have. And I couldn't ask for a better thing. So shout out to Kevin Warren. Happy 1 year anniversary of taking over the president role with the Chicago Bears. And listen, we're going to keep watching and seeing how this thing continues to be built out. And if it aligns with what Kevin Warren is telling us with his words, we're in for a fun time. As being fans of the Chicago Bears. But let me know what you guys think on all that down below. All right, let's get into the one voicemail we got for today. This one's from Darius.
What's going on, guys? Darius from Dallas again. I just want to touch up on something that you said during one of the other mailbags. I was talking about how we could find us a receiver second round, and then we didn't have to reach with that number 9 pick. Okay, the reason I said that is because pass rusher is a more premium position. Okay, pass rushers, quarterbacks, those are the ones that get paid the most money. Those are the ones that affect both sides of the ball the most, which is why they get paid what they get paid. So you're starting off this new leaf with your franchise with getting a brand new quarterback and a brand new pass rusher with your 2 top premium positions. That's enough to be the cornerstone that you build up on for the rest of your team. And the wide receiver position is just so much deeper than pass rush this year, man. I mean, in the second, third round, you're going to find some studs. I know that kid from South Carolina, Leggett, I believe is his last name. The kid reminds me of Debo. It's not even because he comes from South Carolina. He reminds me of Debo, man. He's 6'1", 225 or something like that, and he's a load to bring down, and he's got a little speed on him too. So, I think that we got to start off this draft with drafting the 2 most important positions on any football team: quarterback, pass rusher. It's hard to argue that those aren't the 2 most important positions. So if that is being the case, then it only makes sense that we go pass rusher at number 9, because that is a premium, not one of the most premium position on the defensive side of the ball. Okay. So if we're talking about doing things that impact us big time on a game-to-game situation, we're going against Green Bay last week of the season, you're going to want you a good quarterback, and you're going to want you some good pass rush, man. So that's where we got to start, in my opinion. I hear what you're saying. I know everybody's, salivating over the wide receivers, but we got to go with the meat and potatoes with this one, man. Let's go get in them trenches, and let's go get that quarterback. Texas up, bear down.
And here, Darius, I don't disagree with anything that you said there. Yes, the edge is a premium position and one of the most important positions in the game of football. And yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And I completely agree with your mindset on why address the edge at number 9. No flaws in that. But I think it comes down to the talent evaluation and how Ryan Poles evaluates it, right? If he looks at the chance to draft Rome, who would be a number 1 in most drafts in any other time, and says, hey, no, I don't want to pass up on this guy. This gives me an opportunity to build somebody who can grow along with Ryan Poles. I mean, with Caleb Williams, then you do that, right? But if he does look at it with the edge, the only thing that I look at different, and you can make this conversation either way, they did get Montez Sweat, and he's young enough, he's on an extension, so maybe that has them feeling like we're paying him. If we don't get an edge in this draft, or they can take a shot at one lower in this draft, we feel like the gravity that Montez Sweat has is going to make that job easier out there on the other side for whoever that defensive end is. And then they can look at the wide receiver and say, hey, we're going to be a better team, right? And maybe we don't get the wide receiver, a chance to draft a number 1 wide receiver in most drafts, because, hey, if the Bears do what we think they can do this offseason and make the playoffs, that's going to make that a little bit more difficult. So I get what you're saying. And if all things were even, yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I'm not still saying that may not be the way that they go. I think it just comes down to how Ryan Poles evaluates the current talent at that position, and that would determine which way they go. And, I guess we'll see, man. But I don't think the Bears can go wrong either way. If they do go wide receiver and they get a Rome, if they do go tackle and they get a Joe Alt, right? If they do decide to go edge, get a Jared Verse, get a Dallas Turner, I don't think any of those are necessarily wrong selections, because those are all promising players that shape up to be career starters in the NFL, right? Right away, they up the position group a lot. Well, the wide receiver position, we've got 2 great wide receivers there. But yeah, so I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you, and it just really comes down to that evaluation. And that's the part that we don't really have the entry on, because we don't get to talk to Ryan Poles, unfortunately. Maybe some days on the show, but as of right now, no. So let me know what you guys think on that down below. Great voicemails always from Darius, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. More of you guys send in voicemails as well. Just go ahead and do that for your boy. But make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. And also, if you're on the YouTube side, go and pull us up on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating and review there. If you're on the podcast side, go over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 20,000 subscribers by the end of the season. We're not at 15,000 yet. We're about 120 off from 15,000, but hey, I know about 800 of you guys listen every single day on the podcast side. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Help you boys grow. But man, like I like to end everything on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys, y'all. Peace.
This been a presentation of the Break Media.